Alright, so this is going to be a video on x and y intercepts. Basically, I'm going to be showing you what x and y intercepts are and how to find these x and y intercepts. So, first thing we have right here is an example, and it's basically this function right here, f of x is equal to 2x plus 1, and I graphed it out here, right here in blue. And the x-intercept is basically wherever this graph of this function 2x plus 1 intersects the x-axis. So we have the x-axis right here, and wherever this blue function right here, this 2x plus 1, intersects, which would be right there, that is considered the x-intercept. That's why I have this little arrow that says x-intercept. The y-intercept is where it intersects the y-axis right here, and so it's pointed out right there. Now to find this mathematically, I'm going to basically show you the step to do. For the graph, it's kind of easy. You just kind of look at the graph and see where it intersects, but mathematically, that might be a little bit more complicated, so I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So for the x-intercept, we get x is equal to -1/2, and the y-intercept, we get x is equal to 1. So we should be able to get those answers mathematically from this problem right here. And the way we're going to solve this is we're going to use the fact that the x-intercept is whatever the x value is when the y value is equal to 0. So right here, the y value is equal to 0 for the x-intercept right here. So here's the x-axis, the y value is equal to 0. So that helps you find whatever that x-intercept is. And then the y-intercept is the opposite. It's whatever the y value is when x is equal to 0. Okay, so we're going to find that for this right here using these two important parts of the problems. All right, the first thing we're going to do is to find the x-intercept is I'm going to actually label this. I want to be as organized as possible, so I'm just going to write x-intercept like that. Okay, and then I'm going to rewrite this function right here only in terms of x's and y's. So it's going to be y is equal to 2x plus 1. Okay, now I know the x-intercept is when the y is equal to 0. So I'm going to substitute 0 in for this y. So it's going to look like this. 0 is equal to 2x plus 1. Okay, now I want to solve for x, so I'm going to get rid of this 1 here. I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. So that 1's going to cancel, and you have -1 is equal to 2x. Okay, then from here I'm going to divide both sides by 2, so you'll have -1/2 is equal to x. Okay, now how would you write this as a coordinate? Well, the x value is -1/2. And the y value is, well, we already said it right up here, the y value is equal to 0. So we're just going to say -1/2 comma 0. So this would be the x-intercept for this function. As you can see, it actually matches up with how the graph is. So that's good. All right, next I'm going to find the y-intercept. So I'm going to do a similar way here. So I'm going to write it in green here. So y-intercept. I'm making sure I label everything so it's organized. X-intercept, y-intercept, so nothing gets confusing. Okay, I'm going to rewrite the function again. So it's going to say y is equal to 2x plus 1. Okay, this time I'm putting x is equal to 0. So it's going to say y is equal to 2 times 0 plus 1. All right, so I'm going to do 2 times 0, which is 0 plus 1, and it's going to be y is equal to 1. Okay, if you want that as a coordinate, you're going to have to put the parentheses, and then again, the x is 0. Okay, just like before, the y was 0. This time the x is going to be 0, so it'll be 0, 1, and then that's the coordinate for the y-intercept. Okay, now this was a very easy problem to do, is linear. I'm going to actually give you one that's a little bit more complicated and try to figure that out. So that's what we're going to do right now. All right, so the next problem we're going to look at is this one right here. F of x is equal to 2 times the absolute value of x minus 1 minus 4. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is find that x-intercept, so I'm going to label it accordingly to kind of keep everything organized. So the x-intercept right here, I'm going to rewrite this in terms of x's and y's. So it's going to be y equals 2 with the absolute value of x minus 1 minus 4. Okay, if you remember, the y is equal to 0, so I'm going to substitute that 0 in for y right here. And you'll have 2 times the absolute value of x minus 1 minus 4. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this 4 first, so I'm going to add it to the other side. So it's going to be 4 is equal to 2 times the quantity of the absolute value of x minus 1. Divide both sides by 2, so it gets rid of that, and you end up having the absolute value of x minus 1 is equal to 2. Now if you remember how to solve absolute value problems, this value right here, this x minus 1, can either be positive or -2 in order for this to be true. So if this was equal to -2 in here, the absolute value bars would make it positive, so it'd be equal to 2. If this x minus 1 in here was equal to 2, then the absolute value of that would be 2 as well. So what I'm going to do is set up two equations to solve for what this value would be. So I'm going to say that x minus 1 is equal to 2, and x minus 1 is equal to -2. Both of these will give me this same answer and make this equation right here correct. So that's what I'm going to do. Obviously, you're just going to add 1 over here, and you would have x equals 3. Here, I'm going to add 1 over as well, and you'll have x is equal to -1. So you have the two values for x that make this true. And what you can do, too, with these two values is actually test them up here in the original, in this equation right here. And what you can do with these two values is actually test them up here to see if this is true. So plug 3 in right here, and you have 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. So this one actually checks out, and then we'll do the same thing with the -1. Put -1 in here, you'll have -1 minus 1 is -2. The absolute value of -2 is 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 4. So they both check out. They both are legitimate answers for the x-intercept. We're going to write them as coordinates. So it'll just be 3, 0 and -1, 0. Okay, after we do the y-intercept, I'm actually going to show you a graph just to actually test if these actually do work. So we're going to do that after we find the y-intercept. So first, let's find the y-intercept before doing that. Okay, so the y-intercept, I'm going to rewrite that function with the x's and y's this time. So y is equal to 2 times the absolute value of x minus 1 minus 4. Okay, from there, I'm going to set my x equal to 0. So we're going to have y is equal to 2 times the absolute value of 0 minus 1 minus 4. So I just substituted that 0 in for x. And then from here, I'm going to simplify. So 0 minus 1 is -1. Okay, the absolute value of -1 right here is going to be equal to 1. So you'll have 2 times 1 minus 4. So you'll have 2 minus 4. 2 minus 4 is equal to -2. Okay, now to make this a coordinate, we're going to know that the x is going to be equal to 0, so it'll be 0, -2, and then you have the y-intercept. So now let's take a look at the graph. As you can see from this graph, all three of these intercepts actually work out. We have the 3, 0 for one of the x-intercepts, we have the -1, 0 for the other x-intercept, and then we have 0, -2 for the y-intercept. So that's basically x and y-intercepts and basically how to find them using some examples. If you have any questions about anything in this video, let me know.